thankful to all news media outlets for letting me use their contents. I greatly appreciate that. I am available 24/7 if they need any assistance. Now go to the headlines. Hi and very warm welcome at Amir Shackle 5858. I am Amir Shackle. Following news headlines have been reported by world major English news channels and news agencies. So please watch it.
Tonight's splashdown, the crew aboard the International Space Station makes their return after a 17-hour trip. Butch Wilmore and Sonny Williams splash down back on Earth, their journey inside the SpaceX Dragon, and the first look as they exit the capsule, how they're faring after their epic journeys. The courts versus the president. Chief Justice John Roberts' rare statement defending a federal judge against calls for impeachment from President Trump. Inside the standoff, the blinding dust storm danger in the desert southwest and the brush fires shutting down roads in Florida. The high-stakes call between President Trump and Russia's President Putin, Russia agreeing to a limited ceasefire. But what else is Putin demanding? Richard Engel in the war zone. The end of the ceasefire in the Middle East. Hundreds of Palestinians dead in Israeli strikes on Gaza. What's next? The JFK files. Decades later, the thousands of pages in the investigation into JFK's death. Expected out tonight. But what do they reveal? Why the family of the missing student now believes she has drowned. Her mother's emotional message as the last man believed to have seen her alive spends a chaotic day in court. And under the microscope are woolly mice, the first step to bringing back the woolly mammoths.
This is NBC Nightly News.
Schumer running to the ladies of The View as his own party demands his scalp for caving on the vote Republican spending bill. Instead of getting a warm hug, Chuck walked straight into a buzzsaw, and then he stepped in it.
We are friends, but I think you caved. I think you and 9 other Democrats caved. I don't think you showed the fight that this party needs right now.
I say, Sonny, no one wants to fight more than me, and no one fights more than me. You got to fight smart. You have 2 choices. One bad, the other devastating. One chops off one of your fingers, the other chops off your arm.
Your own party saying
Yes.
that's to go.
Here's what I'm saying. I'm the best leader for the Senate.
You're not going
No,
anywhere.
we have a great. We're moving forward. It's a different kettle of fish than it used to be, and that's why we're fighting them so hard. They are controlled by a small group of wealthy, greedy people. And you know what their attitude is? I made my money all by myself. How dare your government take my money from me?
Okay, you know what? One of the things that Chuck Schumer tried to say, Dana, is that she wants to get rid of him, and he's basically saying, look, you want me. She's basically saying to him, we want to get rid of you. And he's saying, if you get rid of me, you're not going to get anyone as good as me. And I'm smart enough to know what was coming down the pike.
I think he made the right decision. I think he made the wrong communications all week long. He led Democrats to believe that he was not going to vote for it, and at the last minute he changed his mind, and it made everybody mad. Instead of giving them the tough medicine and making them eat their vegetables, he was like, here, I'll just keep feeding you donuts all day long, and then they screamed because they were on a sugar high and furious with him. They don't have the power to do that, and I think that he made a strategic decision that was the right one. But even Hakeem Jeffries on the House side, he's furious with him. Now Chuck Schumer cancels his book tour, but he still goes on The View because he wants to talk to them. Again, I think they continue to the communications of it all just kills me. I think that it's not up until 2028. He will probably weather this storm, but there are some hard feelings on the Democratic side, and it's deeper than usual.
Yeah, it is deeper. But, the far left.
Tonight, breaking news as we come on the air, the dramatic splashdown just moments ago. The images right here tonight, 2 astronauts who were supposed to spend 8 days in space, nearly 10 months later, finally coming home just a short time ago. The astronauts coming home aboard a SpaceX capsule with 2 other members of the International Space Station, their families anxiously awaiting their return. We'll take you live to Cape Canaveral in a moment. Tonight, President Trump's high-stakes call with Vladimir Putin. The call lasting 2.5 hours. Putin not agreeing to the U.S. plan for a 30-day ceasefire, but what he did agree to. And President Zelensky tonight and what he told our James Longman. Back in the U.S. tonight, Supreme Court Chief Justice John Roberts with a rare public pushback against President Trump. What he's saying about the president's call to impeach a federal judge blocking the Trump administration's deportation flights. The president just moments ago reacting to the Chief Justice tonight. Late today in the Dominican Republic, the 22-year-old man from Iowa, believed to be the last person to see that missing Pittsburgh student alive on spring break, in court pleading with the judge to allow him to return home to the U.S. Will he be allowed to come home? Overseas tonight, the ceasefire between Israel and Hamas shattered. Israeli forces launching a large-scale attack across Gaza. Hundreds of people have been killed tonight. What does this now mean for the hostages, including an American-Israeli hostage from New Jersey? Tonight, the FBI and ATF now investigating multiple cases of possible arson, targeting Teslas and Cybertrucks. Authorities pointing to this surveillance, they say, showing a suspect setting fire to vehicles at a Tesla facility. Tonight, the major fire danger, the storm moving across several states at this hour, winds gusting up to 75 miles per hour right into the Midwest, and then the East. Lee Goldberg standing by to time this out. Tonight, two 16-year-old girls disappearing while paddleboarding off the U.S. coast. For 16 hours they were missing. They've now been found 14 miles away, huddling on one of their boards.
From ABC News World Headquarters in New York, this is World News Tonight with David Muir.
Israel reigniting the war in Gaza this Tuesday night. What's behind the deadly bombardment breaking a 2-month ceasefire? Israel's ominous new warning and what families of hostages are dreading. Russia rejects the ceasefire deal Ukraine agreed to, what Moscow wants Kyiv to give up. Temperatures are warming up, but Canadian real estate is not.
The spring housing market is dead on arrival.
What's keeping away buyers? And from 9 months in orbit to splashdown.
Crew 9 back on Earth.
The happy homecoming for 2 astronauts.
Global National with Donna Fries.
France 24.
Nathalie Savarikas, one of the 200 France 24 correspondents around the world.
Hello and a very warm welcome to you. You're watching Daybreak here on France 24. These are our top stories. More drone attacks reported in both Ukraine and Russia overnight. Kyiv says a hospital was hit. Moscow says an oil refinery was targeted. This just hours after a phone call between US and Russian presidents, during which Vladimir Putin said he would be willing to hold fire on Ukraine's energy infrastructure. The heavy bombing of Gaza that has killed hundreds of people in the last 24 hours is just the beginning, says Israel's Benjamin Netanyahu, who added that any future truce talks would be held under fire. And the presidents of Congo and Rwanda meet face-to-face and reiterate their commitment to find a halt in the fighting in DRC, but they offered little detail as to how that could be achieved. They were the first talks since rebel fighters said to be backed by Rwanda seized parts of eastern Congo. Good to have you with us. Well, also coming up, some 11,000 Americans moved to Madrid last year, part of a growing trend as people from the US leave amid Trump's attacks on diversity, equity and inclusion.
This is Asia Now.
It's 12 p.m. in Singapore and Hong Kong, 9:30 in New Delhi, and 11 o'clock in Jakarta. I'm Paul Sun at this hour. Ceasefire talks in Russia's war with Ukraine will continue on Sunday in the Saudi Arabian city of Jeddah. U.S. Special Envoy Steve Witkoff says Washington is working to hash out the details of a truce with Moscow. Israel warns that it's only the beginning as airstrikes on Gaza end nearly 2 months of relative calm since a ceasefire with Hamas. The UN and countries around the world are condemning the attacks that have killed more than 400 Palestinians. A stock and currency plunge in Indonesia has put the focus on the state of the country's economy. All eyes are now on Indonesia's central bank as investors hope for steps to quell the turbulence at policy meet later today.
Home of the election.
Today, Russia's president agrees to pause attacks on Ukraine's energy grid after a phone call with the US president. Also ahead, Israel's Prime Minister warns its renewed offensive in Gaza is only the beginning. Local officials say the airstrikes have killed hundreds. Two nurses appear in court charged over a video where they allegedly threatened Israeli patients.
And splashdown, Crew 9 back on Earth.
And two astronauts successfully splashed down after being stranded in space for 9 months. Hello and welcome to ABC News. I'm Ross Childs.
Hello there. This morning we discuss a phone call for the history books.
Donald Trump and Vladimir Putin thrash it out in a 2-hour conversation.
The Russian president made marginal concessions but rejected America's demand that all fighting stops in Ukraine.
It's left many asking whether Putin has played Trump.
You have a lot of guns pointing at each other, and a ceasefire without going a little bit further would have been tough. Russia has the advantage, as you know.
And splashdown, Crew 9 back on Earth.
And there it is, we have splashed on. The two astronauts who spent 9 months in space, but it was supposed to be 8 days.
Yeah, they returned, thankfully. Labour cracks the whip, promising to shave £5 billion off the benefits bill by targeting disability payments.
And the number of people claiming personal independence payments set to double this decade, from 2 to 4.3 million.
We'll also be talking about Prince Harry's visa documents. They've been unsealed, not that we see too much in them, but we'll be debating whether it's about time America got tough and deported His Royal Highness.
What are you looking for? You're making a big mistake. He's only a kid.
Dad, I haven't done anything.
Netflix hit Adolescence is hailed as one of the best TV dramas of the year, highlighting issues like toxic masculinity and youth violence. We'll be joined by psychologists to break down the rise of internet personalities like Andrew Tate.
Now, why would I want to watch that? Looks depressing. This is history you're looking at here. JFK, the assassination files have been released. What do we see? Yeah, you've guessed it. Nothing.
And in sport, live from the grassy knoll this morning, Thomas Tuchel gets ready for his first England matches since taking over as manager with World Cup qualifiers against Albania and Latvia. Well, there's some big games to look forward to. Tennis is heading for civil war with Novak Djokovic's players' union filing lawsuits against the governing bodies. And the ex-Bulgarian footballer announced as dead, who's actually alive, has spoken, and he's still alive.
It's a cold start out there this morning, but temperatures are set to rise over the next few days. Find out just how warm it's going to get in your full forecast coming up.
Hello there, a very good morning to you on this Wednesday morning, halfway through the week. I'm Eamon Holmes.
And I'm Nana Aquia. This is GB News Breakfast.
This is Sky News, the headlines.
And splashdown, Crew 9 back on Earth.
Splashdown for the astronauts finally back on Earth after being stranded for 9 months in space. Also ahead, Vladimir Putin agrees a ceasefire on energy targets in Ukraine after a 90-minute phone call with the US president.
Ukraine responds to Putin's demands. We analyze if the agreement is a step towards peace. More than 400 killed in Gaza and evacuation orders issued as Israel's Prime Minister says fighting has resumed with full force. And the government cracks down on welfare to save £5 billion, but is accused of choosing to penalise the worst off. Hello, good morning and welcome. 2 astronauts have returned to Earth after an unexpected 9 months in space. Sunny Williams and Butch Wilmore have splashed down off the Florida coast.
It looks like we're getting our next...
Africa News. The news.
Israelis protested outside the government offices in Jerusalem on Tuesday after extensive airstrikes by the military in the Gaza Strip, marking the largest offensive since January's ceasefire. The health ministry in Gaza reports over 400 deaths and more than 500 injuries from the airstrikes.
Israel's resort to yet more military force will only heap further misery upon a Palestinian population already suffering catastrophic conditions. This night meant
hostages' safety. The United Nations peacekeeping leader calls for an urgent ceasefire due to rising tensions between the M23 rebels and the DRC government. In an exclusive interview with China Central Television in New York, Jean-Pierre Lacroix, the UN Under-Secretary General for Peace Operations, warned of the risk of further instability and the critical humanitarian situation in the African nation.
The first step is to achieve a ceasefire, and I think that it's important that all diplomatic efforts and everything possible needs to be done to achieve that goal of ceasefire.
Niger announced on Monday its withdrawal from the International Organization of La Francophonie. The decision was revealed in a note from the Ministry of Affairs addressed to the diplomatic missions abroad. Since the 2023 coup, relations between Niger and the OIF have significantly deteriorated. In December, the Francophonie suspended Niger from all its bodies, and shortly after, the new Nigerian authorities announced the suspension of all cooperation with the organization. Niger, a founding member of the Francophonie, may be followed by Burkina Faso, which has officially notified its withdrawal. Mali may also follow suit. In Kenya, a simple solar-powered oven is offering a cheap and healthy alternative to traditional cooking methods, which often rely on firewood and charcoal. These methods are not only costly, but also harmful to both health and the environment. For street vendor Ian, the solar cooker has been a game changer. He uses it to cook boiled eggs and smokies in Nairobi, saving both money and fuel, which ultimately boosts his profits.
The solar cooker is aiding me a lot, since previously I was using the Jiko and the charcoal to boil my eggs, and these days I'm using it, and it's from the power of the sun. I'm boiling my eggs, I'm saving the fuel, and I'm saving some money to boost my stock and business. And I'm also having customers all over town. They're flocking here. They're saying my eggs are sweeter compared to the way they are these days.
The solar oven was developed by Caroline Olang, a local innovator and entrepreneur who saw an opportunity to help people switch to renewable energy.
The solar oven is an alternative use. We want to get people to stop using fossil fuel, and that is why we've decided to use renewable energy. Hence the solar-powered oven, which is just a box, and you use the sun to cook your food.
In sub-Saharan Africa, about 90% of the population still rely on firewood and charcoal for cooking. Carolyn is, however, confident that solar cooking is a better option in a region blessed with abundant sunshine, offering a healthier and more sustainable alternative to traditional cooking methods.
Thank you very much for giving time to Amir Shekel 5858. I am Amir Shekel. Have a good life. Bye-bye.